Immersive learning with Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, a virtual reality game. The best practices in immersive learning would be the virtual experience must immerse the learner, advanced learning theory makes the training stick, and data science to measure performance. I'm going to talk about these three and then introduce the methods and way I'm going to use the best practice. The first best practice is the virtual experience must immerse the learner. That means there's embodiment. The VR creates a full body experience that increases learner engagement. So they want to be captured with the actual experience. Perceptual fidelity, the virtual interactions mimic the physical world to activate the same neural pathways in the brain. So the virtual reality has to be consistent with the real world and what they would see in the real world, because any falsenesses will kind of throw them off and be like, hey, this isn't right. On-demand repetition, where the learners can train as many times as needed for sufficient learning and proficiency. This is especially important when they use VR with like training doctors how to do procedures with it, so they can practice and learn from their mistakes without a real body and real experience. Real-time feedback. In VR, learners will make decisions just like they would in the real world, and those decisions will have a direct impact on the experience. So, whatever decision or thing that they do, right or wrong, will result in some other type of consequence, good or bad, that will impact them throughout the experience. And then some emotional fidelity. The VR needs to invoke a sense of presence that creates some realistic emotional response. Happiness, sad, stress, any type of emotion will help build the neural pathways to help embody the experience. The next best practice is advanced learning theory makes the training stick. Edgar Dale's Cone of Experience from 1969, so it's been a while for this one, but essentially it boils down to that 90% of people remember from what they do, whereas only 10% of what they read and 20% of what they hear. So the VR is meant for those people to actually do the activity, and then they will learn more from it than just reading it out of a book or hearing it from their teachers describe what's going on. Then the next thing is use data science to measure performance. To make sure that to check the usage, how often the training is, how frequent the training is used, the duration of the training, and the amount of people or how much completion is done. Performance, completion of task, and correct answers to evaluate the proficiency. So it's great if people are getting through the VR experience, but if they're not getting the correct answers or getting to the desired outcomes, that's not good. Attention and engagement, where and how the learners pay attention, indicators of on-the-job performance. And then sentiment, qualitative feedback from participants. So you would just ask them afterwards, hey, how did this VR experience help you with the job training or the situation that you might be in with your job, or in your learning the task or skill that they were trying to perform? And then predictive analytics, a combination of immersive data mapped to real world data, create a machine learning based model. So in other words, what that is doing is, if you have a simulation where you're shooting basketballs, how often does the person make the shot, and then have the same person actually shoot basketballs like from the same distance, and do a comparative analysis to see how well the uh, VR holds up to the real world application. So then the game that I'd use for my students would be Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. This could be done for students, can be done for adults. Pretty much it boils down to being able to use communication skills. So the description of the game is one team member will actually be using the VR headset, and they'll be able to see the explosive device that has different puzzles that need to be answered. And there's a certain amount of strikes, so a certain amount of times that they can be wrong. And what they have to do is they have to describe what they are seeing, because they're the only ones that are able to see it, to their teammates who have the instructions on how to defuse the bomb. And then they have to communicate back to the bomb diffuser on the correct methods to solve the puzzles. If they are able to figure out all the puzzles in the time limit, then they win. If they do not, then they can really try again. So the target audience is for ages 14 and up, including adults. I put 14 because that's pretty much where I think the puzzle skills to solve and being able to interpret the instructions would be at. Some of the puzzles are complicated for even adults. But the goal is just to engage people with a time crunch situation where success depends on their ability to communicate, collaborate with each other. So keep their emotions in check. Don't blame each other if there's a strike, and be able to use words to describe what they are seeing and then describe the instructions back. So learning objective one, this is more for the bomb diffuser. Will be able to communicate through telling their teammates the descriptions of the puzzles, and the teammates will use the bomb diffusing manual to diffuse the solution, help diffuse the bomb. So pretty much this is gauging, are they able to be successful in solving how many puzzles. And then the second learning objective, the team will manage and determine each team member's role in being the bomb diffuser and which puzzles they are responsible for in order to build towards successful bomb diffusion and finding how many attempts it takes the team to have success. So in other words, if there's a person really struggling being the bomb diffuser, maybe the team will then communicate with each other and plan for somebody else to take over being the bomb diffuser. And then if there's certain puzzles that people are having a hard time figuring out, reworking the teams so that the correct people are on certain puzzles. And then just to see if this is to gauge their ability in the social aspect of determining roles that each person will be best at for team success. And then implementation plan, essentially I'd print out the PDF of the bomb diffusing manual that goes with the game. The roles will be determined by the students. They will play the game and see where the group is being successful and struggling. Then I could explain any confusion about the puzzles. So if there's a certain puzzle that people are really not getting, I could explain it and then try again, rinse and repeat with different people stepping into the VR headset. And then this is a video of a real life bomb squad. It's 8 minutes and 20 minutes for you to check out, for them actually playing it and keeping their cool and how the game should have been played. And then here's my references